Hello everyone, welcome back to the start of our series where we are going to be basically creating a bit of a video guide on how to become an owner builder and the steps that you need to take to be able to do all of the paperwork side of things. This is the second attempt at filming this video. Dane and I filmed one and I edited the whole thing and it was just really boring and really hard to watch. So this is our second attempt, and look, the content is boring because it's paperwork. So I do apologize. I think it's just going to be what it is, and I just hope that it's going to be beneficial anyway. So basically the video that we filmed before, we actually spoke about things that you need to consider before becoming an owner builder. We just picked out what we thought are the three most important things that you need to think about. And then if you feel good with all of those, then basically you're ready to go with the process. The main and most important thing that we kind of feel like you need to consider when you're becoming an owner builder is your financial situation. Basically, we started with money in the bank, and that's how we built our house. We have zero experience with trying to borrow money as owner builders, but we have heard it is quite difficult. You need really big deposits, you have to arrange progress payments, and I do know that there are quite a few lenders in Australia that will not service an owner builder loan. So just some things to consider. Your financial situation obviously needs to be pretty sound, because once you start, you're really in deep and you just got to keep going. So it seems like a really obvious one, but having the correct amount of money for what you want to do, what your goals are, is absolutely vital. If you don't have the money, then it's going to be a very difficult process. The second thing that we think is really important is your skill set. So what can you actually contribute to your build? If you're becoming an owner builder to save money, how much of the build are you going to do yourself? Versus how much are you going to need to get trades in for? Because at the end of the day, getting trades in as owner builders is pretty tricky, because tradies like to have their consistent flow of work through builders or whatever. So being an owner builder already kind of makes your life a bit harder. So if you're not planning on doing most of the work yourself, how much are you going to be able to contribute towards your build to ensure that you're actually going to be saving some money? So having a think about what you're going to be able to do versus what you're going to need tradies to do is quite important. And the third and final thing that we think you need to consider when becoming an owner builder is the amount of time that you have. Dane and I didn't work for at least the first year of our build. It was just our life. It's all we did. Well, obviously we went to the beach and we had a pretty good life build balance actually, but we weren't working. So basically we had the time to build our house. If you're planning on working full time, you have to decide whether or not you think it's actually beneficial for you to be an owner builder rather than going through a builder. Is it going to be better to, Dane and Van are upstairs. Is it going to be better to go through a builder and just go to work full time and get it done that way? Or do you have time, or can you afford to take some time off to be able to actually build your house and facilitate it and kind of delegate and everything else, because that takes time too. So they're three really important things to think about and kind of just mull over a little bit. Once you have thought about all of those things and you're set and you're like, yep, I definitely want to do this and committed, then that's what this whole video is going to be about. So on that note, the next thing I would like to talk about briefly is this next series. There's going to be multiple videos. I was hoping, I don't know what I was thinking, that I was going to try to squish it into like 2 videos, but it's going to be hopefully a series of shorter videos for each step to help you get to the process to where you will eventually be on site and ready to start your build. The paperwork process was a nightmare for us, or for me. I just had no idea about what to do, and the order of things was a really big one. And it was just our first time, so it was a lot, and there's not a lot of information out there about what to actually do and what order to do things in. So that is what we're hoping these videos will be beneficial for. In saying that, I will include a disclaimer at the start of every one of these videos, because we don't want anyone to think that this is all you have to do and this is the be all and end all. This series is just going to be like an aid and hopefully something that can help, but you really have to do your own research. If you're becoming an owner builder, you're taking on that responsibility as the builder, so you will have to research every state, every shire. Everything is so completely different. So we hope it's helpful, but please don't take it too, not literal, like take it literally, but take it with a big bucket of salt. Make sure you do your own research and have a look into everything that you think you're going to need to look into. There's always going to be surprises. There was for us. New things are coming in all the time, and I'll talk about that a little bit in this video. But this series is solely based on our experience. I will include a written disclaimer that you will be able to see in a minute, and I will put it on every single one of these step videos to make sure that everyone understands that we are just trying to help, but we can't tell you exactly what to do. You really have to be vigilant and research yourself. Okay, disclaimer out the way. Now we can roll on to the actual video. This is the first video of the series, so of course it will be step 1. I failed miserably. We did it. Okay, so a guide to owner building. Step 1, the very first thing that you are going to want to do is assess the land that you are planning to build on. We did this well before we applied for our owner builder license, well before we even had a house design. We made sure we had a really good understanding about the land that we were going to build on, because there are specific things that can come into play that will significantly change the cost of your build. If we had built this exact same house up the back of our property, it would have cost us a lot more money than if we were to build it here. So knowing your boundaries and everything on your land, where you can build legally, but also just efficiently, is really, really important. So before you apply for an owner builder license, before you design a home, before you do anything like that, you want to go through these steps in this video and possibly more to have a good understanding about your land before you start designing your house. So the very first thing, it seems really, really obvious, but I'm literally going through the exact process that I went through. The first thing that you want to do is create a folder on your laptop or your device that you're going to be using for your owner building process. And in that folder, you want to have lots of other folders with everything neatly kind of stored in there, because you need to be able to access information for multiple different parties and, engineers, people who are doing your structural drawings, the Shire, possibly the banks if you're going to be going about it that way, and for your owner builder license, the levies, everything. There's lots and lots of different people that you're going to be contacting, and you're just going to make it easier for yourself if you have it all in one place. Okay, so once you have done that, you're ready to start looking into your land. And the very first thing that I would recommend you doing is digging out your certificate of title. You probably have one on hard copy or email from when you bought your land. If you don't have one, that is perfectly fine. You can just go to Landgate and you can actually order a certificate of title. I think it's about $28. And you basically on your land title will have any encumbrances, any covenants. You will have any relevant information and restrictions that you need to know about for your property when it comes to building on there. So getting that and just having a good look at it and making sure you're aware of everything is the very first thing that you need to do. Once you have done that, then I recommend going to your local government, so your local shire or council website. I'm just doing everything completely random here, by the way, because obviously we don't want to share every single piece of our information on the internet. So so we just go to your local shire and you want to have a look at property development. You want to have a look about what they say about building permits, the planning development, all of those sorts of things is all on their website. And then if you're not sure about anything, you're best off just giving them a call, letting them know that you're hoping to become an owner builder and things like that, and just getting familiar with them, because you will be working with them quite closely in the next month or so through this paperwork process. So just reading up any relevant information that you might need to read on your local government website. Okay, so once you have done that, then you want to look up the BAL map for Western Australia or wherever it is that you reside, and you want to have a good look at the map, and you want to see where your property lies on the map to see if you are going to be in basically a fire zone risk area. I'm going to a completely random place here, but you want to type your address in that little box, and where it's shaded pink means that that part of your property could be at risk for a fire, basically, is the logistics behind it, apparently. But so basically, if your whole block is completely covered pink, then you will need to order a BAL assessment and get a rating. Just like this block here is completely pink, you will need to order a BAL assessment and find out what your level of severity is on your land, because it will change the build of your house. If your block was like our block and it was partially covered in pink, then it means that as long as you're not building within that pink zone, then you basically don't have to get an assessment. That's what it was like. Now, bear in mind, this was nearly 3 years ago that we did this. I haven't looked into it again. But as long as you're not touching that pink zone, you did not need to get a BAL assessment a few years ago. I'm not sure what it is now. Again, do your own research. but as long as you're not touching it, then it's perfectly fine. So we didn't have to get a BAL assessment here because we built up the front of our property. If we were building up the back of our property, we would have had to get a BAL assessment done, and that was one of the reasons we decided to build up the front. It was about $1,000 to get a BAL assessment done, but again, maybe just look into that yourself and double check, because you might need to budget for a BAL assessment. And then depending on the rating you get back will depend on probably the design of your house, because you will have to factor in your BAL rating. If you are like in the worst possible rating and you've got the fire zone, then you need double glazed windows and a whole list of other things. That does add a lot of cost, to your build. So it's really important that you know this right at the start. You will need it anyway for your Shire application, but just for your own knowledge and understanding before you build your house, before you design your house, it's really important to know what your BAL rating is going to be. So once you know your BAL rating, or if you even have to get an assessment, the other map that you want to look at, and this is a new one, is the Aboriginal Cultural Heritage Act that was passed in 2021, comes into effect on the 1st of July this year, 2023. So we didn't have to look into it for our build, but of course we have had to look into it since, because we're still in the process of landscaping and doing things outside. So basically you have to look up the map, and you want to see, it's very similar to the BAL in that sense of how you go about the process. You want to see if your land falls under any protected area or any Aboriginal registered sites. So very simple, you go to the website, you look at the map. So this website is specifically for the map. There are other websites that you can go to that have a lot of information about the Act if you're not familiar with it, being so new. I spent a lot of time reading about it over the past week, and I feel like I understand it pretty well. So there's a lot of information there that you can read to help gain an understanding of what you need to do to be able to do a due diligence assessment. I called them, I spoke to someone, and we've done all the things that we need to do to make sure that we're doing the right thing and that we're not going to disturb any sacred land, basically. So you want to click on this. It says, what do you want to do? You can either search for registered sites or other heritage places. What I would recommend is just that you zoom into an area, and obviously zoom into your area of where your land resides, and you want to see if it's on any protected land. If you are not on any protected land, then that, based on the conversation I had on the phone and the reading I have done, that is the end of your due diligence assessment. If you're on no protected land and you double checked that, then you can just proceed as normal. If it does appear to have some protected land on your block, or if you're not sure or it's not clear, then obviously you will need to ring and find out if the land is protected, and then if it is, what is your next step of the due diligence assessment. There's different steps that you will take then, and then different tiers of severity of ground disturbance. There's tier 1, 2 and 3, from minimal ground disturbance to pretty extravagant ground disturbance. So definitely recommend that you read up on that, familiarize yourself so that you don't end up with a hefty fine for disturbing any sacred or protected land. Okay, so once you have looked at the Aboriginal Cultural Heritage Directory map, then you might want to look at organising a local engineer to perform a site investigation on your property and supply a geo report for you. You will need that anyway for your Shire application when you go for your building permit and your building application. So it's something you need to do anyway, but the earlier you get it done, the better, because you will find out exactly what you're going to need to do for your site works, which is going to help you once again with the design of your home. It may be cheaper for you to go stumps. It may be cheaper for you to go on just a concrete slab. Basically, knowing everything about your site as early as possible is going to help you with that design process. So I think it's definitely good to get that done nice and early, and then you have a good understanding of what site works you are going to need to do. Okay, so here is a checklist of step 1, and I will include this checklist on every video that we make for this guide. Remember, not everything on this checklist will apply to you. I should have said earlier, the Aboriginal Cultural Heritage Act is actually only relevant to Western Australians at the moment. So if you're building in any other state, it's got no relevance to you whatsoever. The other thing is there may be things that I have missed on this list as well. So just make sure that you are doing your own research once again so that you don't miss out on anything. But the whole point of this video is to get the point across that you really want to know the land that you're going to build on. The more you know early on, the less surprises you will have down the track. Of course, with building, there's always going to be surprises, but if you had gone and designed this beautiful home and then quoted it all up and thought, yep, we're going to have the right amount of money to do this, and then you've gone to put everything through the Shire, and then you found out, okay, BAL assessment, that's $1,000, and then, oh wait, now we're in fire zone, so our beautiful house that we've designed is now going to be an extra 30% of cost just in making it fireproof or fire resistant. So basically, if you know all of these things early before you design your house, you can take them all into consideration. So that's the point that we're trying to get across for this video, is just knowing as much about the land as you possibly can, and then from there designing your home to suit your budget with the land that you have. I hope that is clear. I hope this was helpful. Basically, I'm just going to be creating videos like this until we get to the point where you would be actually going to submit your application and getting ready to go to site. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for step 2, where we will continue on with the planning process.